You're listening to the Brave Babe podcast. I hope you're ready to be totally inspired to be brave and radically empowered to drop your excuses, pick up your worth, and start creating a life you truly love. Because babe, you're worth it. All right, let's start this.
Let's do it.
All right. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Jalena.
You guys, I am here with my friend Katie, and this is a special episode of the Brave Babe podcast. I've never had a guest on the podcast before. Katie is the first honorary guest, so thank you for coming over.
Thank you for the invite.
You know you're a true friend when I did not worry about how messy my house is right now, because only true friends can see my house in its natural state.
Yes.
Which is a mess because 4 kids.
Because life
and 4 kids, messy kids. So anyway, so Katie's here with me, and let me tell you a little bit about Katie. I met Katie,
12 years ago?
It was a long time ago because my son is 12 now, and he was like still a baby. When I met Katie, and we met through the sheriff's office. Mm-hmm. We were both assigned to the legal liaison division, and Katie came over there, and so that's how we met, and we started working together. And at the time, Katie was going through her cancer treatments, right?
Yes.
And so Katie is a cancer survivor. She's a former foster mom. She was actually a foster mom when Brent and I started our foster journey.
Yes.
So I actually learned a lot from Katie and got a lot of information from her as we were starting our process. And so we really bonded over that.
Yes.
And then Katie also has an 11-year-old son who just is a doll, and our kids get along great.
Thank God. Yes.
They're playing in the other room right now. They might come out and make a few appearances. We might have to
yell.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to do a lot of editing out the kids and their interruptions. But Katie's also a detention dispatch and 911 call taker at the sheriff's office, so we're gonna talk about that a little bit. And then we're also gonna talk about a charity pinup calendar that she is about to do. That's really exciting. So we're gonna talk about all the things today.
But we have to mention that Jalena is now going to be doing that charity pinup calendar as well, because we'll talk about that later.
I'm so excited. So we're going to talk about all the things today. So I'm really excited. So is there anything about yourself that well, there's a lot about yourself that I just missed, but anything you want to say before we dive in?
No, I think we should just dive in.
Okay. Yeah. So when I met you, you were going through your cancer treatment.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. Like, what was that experience for you?
So let's go back to diagnosis, because it'll make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I was sick. Like, I just had a baby in September, and went back to work, and everybody at work was sick. That's how it goes in the jails. So I just wasn't getting better, and I couldn't breathe. And so early January, I went to urgent care just to get a breathing treatment. And we do chest x-rays just to make sure, that there's no pneumonia or anything like that, whatever.
Right.
Doctor came back, and she had tears in her eyes.
Oh, no.
So it was a mass that showed up in the x-ray in my chest, and she knew exactly what it was. I knew exactly what it was. So the next morning, she had already called the doctor and had me scheduled to go to get checked out. And so we went in, and within 2 weeks, I had a diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma. We had consulted with surgeons. I was not a candidate for surgery just because the tumor in my chest was actually wrapped around my pulmonary artery.
Oh, wow.
So that would have been way too extreme.
Way too complicated.
Yes. So we opted for chemo treatments immediately. I had a chemo port put in. And mind you, my son is 3 months old.
At the time.
And
how did you handle a newborn?
It was hard.
With getting that news.
It was really hard. It was scary. It was the fear that is indescribable. You can't describe the fear of, I have cancer, I have an infant, and I have 2 foster kids.
Oh yeah, that's right. You had the foster boys at the time. You had two boys.
Yep, 2 brothers. We had them for 2.5 years at that point.
Yeah.
And 2009, February 12th, 2009 was my first chemo treatment.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I ended up having 17 chemo treatments, 22 rounds of radiation, isolated in my upper area. Many hospital stays.
Yeah.
Just because my body was so out of whack with everything. But I will, you know, everyone's like, oh my God, you lost your hair. I rocked it.
So, okay, Katie totally rocked when she lost her hair during the chemo treatment. She totally rocked, what color was it? It was like, it wasn't like it was like a brownish orangish, not orange, but like a
auburn.
Auburn. It was really, really pretty because I remember coming into work one day and she had this on and it was gorgeous and I was still kind of getting to know you, and all of a sudden you're like, oh well, it's a wig, and you like pulled it off, and I was like, oh, and I remember everybody was like, can we try it on? Can we try it? And we were like passing it around the office trying it on, and then there was one night that you and I went out for like dinner and drinks, and was it your sister-in-law?
My sister-in-law
at the time, yeah, and she like did your makeup and did like a glamorous thing,
right? Because Shannon is a makeup artist.
Yes, and so we went out, and Katie was all dolled up with her hair and her makeup done, and I have to find, we have a really good picture together from that night.
We do. I think it's on my Facebook.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to pull it up. And I forgot to mention, for those of you listening to the podcast, we are actually video recording this right now and doing a vlog, and so the video of all of this is going to be up on the Brave Babe Podcast YouTube channel.
Yep.
And so if you're just listening in your car or in your headphones right now, you can actually go over to the YouTube and you can actually see Katie and I, and you can see us, and you can see, we're gonna throw in some pictures from us back in the day, the picture we just talked about. We're gonna throw in a lot of extra stuff. So this is like the video right now, we've had this camera, is a behind the scenes kind of look, and we're gonna go, we're gonna have a ton of extra stuff on there. And then, I also, before this video is over, I have to show everybody watching my little mommy corner over here.
Oh, yes.
We'll get to that later, but that's my mommy corner.
That's important.
Okay, so back to your story.
Okay, wig.
Yes.
Rocked the wig.
Rocked the wig.
But it was super itchy.
Yeah, I remember.
So
that.
I ditched it. And I just rocked a beanie, which your head gets cold. So
right.
I can honestly say I enjoyed having no hair.
Right.
Because it's zero maintenance. So,
okay, sorry. Where were we?
Okay, we were at wig and hair.
Yes.
I had to shave my head. So anyway, Katie Farnsworth is was my babysitter, and she's absolutely amazing. Her mom shaved my head, and I think that was probably, out of everything emotionally, one of the hardest, because your hair identifies you.
Right.
And so I shaved my head because it was literally like you would run your fingers through the hair and it would be
just fall
everywhere.
out.
Yeah. So I did that, and then I'm thankful I did it. You know, I didn't let all the hair just fall out, you know, because it was just buzzed.
Right.
And then, but yeah, then the treatment started. I was off work for 6 months because that's all I'm allowed to be off work.
Right.
And then I came to you. And it was really cool though, the bonding time that I had with Brandon, because he was a baby.
Right, so you got to be home.
I got to be home.
But how sick were you feeling?
It was bad.
Really sick throughout that time?
Yeah, and I did a lot of lying to my family. I did a lot of lying to you guys.
Yeah, because you're a mom, and so you and a woman, and you just put on this brave face, like everything's okay, I got it all under control, I'm fine, and then inside you're just dying inside.
Literally.
Like,
and yeah.
Yeah.
And
we all do that so often.
It's horrible. And the one thing about my chemo, it's weight regimented. Like the amount of chemo is based on how much I weigh. And so if I lost or gained more than 5 pounds, we would have to cancel and push it off a week. Yeah. So, and that happened quite a few times. And, you know, everyone's like, oh, are you eating? I'm like, yeah, I'm eating, you know.
Right.
But in all actuality, I hadn't eaten in like 3 or 4 days because I would eat and it would come right back up.
Oh, no.
So I started the Ensure drinks, which are like, oh my God, that'd be horrible. All right.
So you're drinking Ensure, which is horrible.
It's horrible.
Not only does it taste horrible, but it's horrible for you.
I know, but it has the nutrients I needed to not lose weight as fast.
Right.
So, and there wasn't anything better on the market at the time. Mind you, this was 10 years ago.
Right.
So in the protein shakes, all that wasn't a thing
Yeah, that was
yet.
before we have all that stuff in the kitchen that we just we just made some protein shakes for the kids. So
Yeah, and you know, and now, thank God they have that stuff now, because
Right.
it's really going to help, you know, people with eating disorders and people with going through cancer and different medical issues.
Right.
That there is an alternative to eating food.
Right.
So I choked at least one down a day. And it's funny, like chemo gives you a really bad taste in your mouth, and a lot of people describe it as like a metal, like you're chewing on metal.
that'd be
For me, it was like chewing on rotten meat.
Ew.
The smell of rotten meat is what I tasted.
Oh, that's disgusting.
So the only thing I found to get that taste out for a little bit was pickle juice.
Oh my gosh. Drinking the pickle juice.
I literally would drink pickle juice.
It's
because-
actually really good for you.
Yes.
Pickles help reduce anxiety. And so like if you're gonna go and like give a presentation and you're really nervous, like if you eat pickles, it's supposedly
and then you smell like pickles.
yeah, but it supposedly helps reduce anxiety. So
Yeah, and I love pickles. Like I grew up having homemade pickles.
Yeah.
And so that was the one
oh my gosh.
sanity
Poor thing.
I had. But to this day, I still love pickles.
Yeah. Well,
But and then Brandon was teething at the time too, so we would freeze the pickles
and give it to him.
and give it to him to chew on, and I would drink the juice.
Cute. That's
But-
awesome.
So and yeah, and then you know,
Oh, but you were saying when we had to take a little pause that you lied to your family, your coworkers, and your friends throughout your treatment, telling everybody that you were okay, you were feeling okay, you were doing okay, you
I
were
was
handling
eating.
everything, you were eating, but inside you were just a hot mess.
I was a disaster.
But-
It was. I call it, and I think I remember having this conversation with you actually many times. I called it my dark hole.
Yes.
But I would never put the lid on the dark hole, and you know it
Or
was
let anybody into
Yeah.
that dark hole with
exactly. It was a shitty place to be in.
Right.
It was. I was depressed. I couldn't eat. The chemo and all the steroids that are associated with that, they puff you up.
you. Right.
I felt ugly, and it sucked.
It's a miserable time.
It was.
But I
was,
think-
I mean, I even bordered the line of suicidal thoughts. Never got to the point. I never tried.
Right. But where you just felt like it would be easier.
Yeah. And I always say, like, Brandon saved my life.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, and I can say this for 100% certain, that if Brandon wasn't there, even though I had the foster boys, which I loved so much.
They were so cute.
They
Oh my
were,
gosh.
I know. I would not have fought as hard, and I don't know if I would be sitting here now. Because he was the reason to fight.
Right.
And
I can't even imagine for people who don't have something to fight for when they're going through cancer, going through something life-changing, life-altering like that, and they don't have that support system
Right.
or something like a reason to fight to stay alive. I can't even imagine.
because it's miserable.
But like you were saying, I think so many women, people in general, but women, especially moms, do this where like we put on the brave face and we present this front like everything's okay and we've got it all together and like we're handling it, but then like inside you're just breaking down. You know, inside it's like a whole shit storm going on.
Yep,
But
and
we tell everybody that we're okay.
Right, and I
when
think
we're
there's
not.
a very few people that saw through it. You saw through it very easily. You saw through it.
Well, because I'm the same hot mess on the inside, okay on the outside. you
Right,
know?
and
So
I mean,
you
and
know.
that's before I knew your story.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you started opening up to me too.
Yeah.
And
We bonded over our shitstorm life.
pretty much. You know, and then we should mention that your husband was my sergeant.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Who
so
you
that's.
had a little crush on back
I
before.
enjoyed when he would come in, those blue eyes. And then my lieutenant was super handsome too, and I'm like, oh man, school.
Yeah, he used to be pretty cute.
We're all used to it.
He still is.
I
He
was
still
gonna say.
is.
But yeah, it was really cool, like getting to know Jalena on the work level, on the friend level, and then listening to Brent talk about you as a wife and as a mother. I mean, it was
That's back when it was like still new. If you asked him now, he probably has a whole different outtake on it. So, okay, anyways, so how long were your cancer treatments? How long, like from when you started until you got that
So they
clear?
originally were only supposed to be 6 months, but because of all the complications that I had and all the hospital stays, it ended up being a year.
A year.
Yeah. So, and then after the 16, 17 chemo treatments I had to do 22 rounds of radiation that were every day, minus the weekends.
Right.
So at the end of that, I was considered done. And then now it's testing for remission and going through that process.
And so how long has it been that you've been cancer free? How many?
January will mark 10 years of being cancer free.
That is badass.
It is. And
10 years cancer
10
free.
years.
She kicked cancer's ass, you guys.
You know, and there's one thing that a lot of people who have never dealt with a family member, because it doesn't just affect the person going through, it affects everybody.
Yeah.
It broke my marriage up. It put a strain on my mom and my sisters. And, you know, it's one of those things where it's completely life-changing for everybody, but for the survivor, it's never ending.
Right.
Like, I ended up back in the hospital with heart problems because of the type of chemo.
Right.
Blood clots. I'm now on blood thinners for the rest of my life. I was on heart medication.
This ripple effect.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, I now have to take thyroid medication and all these different things. And the radiation affected my lungs. It put a lot of scarring on my lungs. And you know, and then the stress of it all.
Right.
The financial part of it all. It was very overwhelming. And that's the part of it that everybody looking in doesn't see.
So how did you get through that? Like if somebody's listening or watching and they are they're starting this journey, this horrible journey, but they're at the beginning of it, like what would you tell them, your best advice for them on like how to survive it, how to get through it?
Right. And I mean, everybody's going to be different and everybody's going to take situations differently. I will preach till the day I die. Talk about it. Talk about it. Don't hold it in. Talk about it. Go get counseling. Go to support groups. Your family sees it completely different than you do. Your family needs to go to support groups.
Right.
You know, you need to do it together. You need to do it separately. Talk about it. Don't hold anything in.
Right.
Know your body. You know, your body gives you signs that you know, but nobody else may see. And then the one thing that you guys did see that I did not see was what a big bitch I had become. Like I was, you know, I would lose my temper so quickly, and I mean, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, you had a lot going on.
Yeah, like I had to get medicated.
Yeah.
You know, I had to get medicated.
And there's no shame in dealing with it how you have to do it.
Right, and then, you know, and a lot of it was because the type of chemo I was on really affected my sleep. I would stay awake for days.
Plus 2 foster boys, plus a newborn baby.
Plus having to work.
And yeah, that's a lot. Where were we? All these interruptions.
I know, right? We were talking about others. And, you know, advice for others. And I will preach, and I think I've been pretty open with my cancer story. And, you know, I'll be the hugest supporter for anybody going through this. And it doesn't matter what kind of cancer. It sucks all around. You are a cancer survivor.
Well, I just had skin cancer and it wasn't.
It doesn't matter. It still was impactful.
Cut a quarter-size hole out of my face right here. But, you know.
Yeah. I think I just will preach to talking and being open and I
think that goes also with like anything that we're going through in life. Like no matter what it is, people are like don't want to be burdensome. They don't want to like, you know, they just like people have this misconception that if you talk about your problems or whatever you're going through, that it's like a weakness, and it's not. Like it's the complete opposite of a weakness. It takes strength to be able to talk about what you're going through and be like, hey friend, like I got a vent. Hey, I'm going through this. Like, can you pray for me? Can you just, you know, and just knowing that somebody else knows and that it's not your you know, your burden alone. It's
Right,
just, that's being strong.
Yeah, and you know, and one thing we don't have on our little list of things, I know, right?
Our little list of topics.
Is before all of my cancer, actually I was 19 years old, I was diagnosed with lupus.
Oh yes, that's right.
So, and and I've been a huge advocate for that too, but and this is kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but for 4 years with my chemo, it actually suppressed the lupus and made it go dormant, which was amazing. It was so nice. And
then all of a sudden it's back.
It is, and it is back with a vengeance. In fact, I just went to the doctor last Friday and we're having to start new medications and x-rays and a massive amount of blood work just because it's so off the charts right now. But yeah, that's just it. I will advocate for that. I actually have a coworker who we compare notes all the time. She has lupus, and she gave me a list of questions to ask my doctor for her.
Yeah,
so it's just talking about things, comparing things. You learn new things, how to treat yourself better, how to care for yourself better. You know.
Yeah, and when it's you, there's somebody else that can relate, and you can bounce ideas and thoughts off of. It helps. It's like fostering.
Yeah,
you were a foster mom when I met you, and then Brett and I started the process. And so, how long did you guys foster for?
So, well, we started in foster because we tried to have a baby, and I just could not get pregnant. Now we know why. Is that a lot of it had to do with the lupus.
You're right.
So we looked into adoption, and adoption is insanely expensive.
Very expensive, very.
And privately.
Right.
So we're like, okay, well, there's, you know, we can provide a really good home, you know, for a child. And so we got into the foster care, and we got our boys, Jason and Alex. Jason was 6 and Alex was 22 months.
Yeah.
And they were fun. They were fun, and we had them for 5 years. So we had them for 5 years. The plan was adoption. It was a very long process.
Right.
Their original case plan was reunification with their mother. Unfortunately, there were some SMI issues, and that didn't happen. So the case turned into adoption. And during that time, I ended up having the cancer.
Right.
So when it came time,
and then so you had the boys, and then you got pregnant,
and then I got
Brandon, and then you got diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, and it was the foster care system, and I hate to talk.
The foster care system is a joke. It is horrible.
It is. These boys, they deserve so much better, than what the state could provide them.
In Arizona, our state is it's all about the parents. So
it's a pro-parent state.
Yeah, these parents get chance after chance after chance, and it doesn't matter at what cost to the child.
Right.
So the child suffers throughout this process of reunification when parents don't show up to visits, and when they, you know, just all the crap that goes. It's ridiculous. Arizona, and you know what? They try to do their best, but it's a very. I always tell people who ask about fostering, like, it's the hardest thing that you will ever do, but it's also the most rewarding. Yeah. So,
you know, and then the one thing that frustrated me the most was you had to have these licensed workers and case managers come into your home monthly, sometimes multiple times, you know, and you're held to these standards. But the parents of the children are not held to those same standards.
Right.
And it's frustrating because you do whatever you can to make sure that these kids have what they need.
Right.
That they're going to counseling, that they're going to the visits. I mean,
doctor's visits, dental visits, therapy appointments,
court monitoring, you know, court cases. So there was a lot of work from me put in to his education and getting him caught up to speed. So, you know, they were there. They saw me go through the treatments. They were there. They saw me, you know, go into remission. And 2 years after, it became time for adoption, and we were denied. We were denied
because of
the main reason was we could not answer the question of what happens to the boys if I get sick again.
I remember this time in your life, and it's gonna make me sad because I know how much you loved those boys. They were like your whole life, and it's horrible that your illness and something that, I mean, you kicked cancer's ass, and you know, here we are 10 years later, and you have this wonderful, great life, and like, I know it would be totally different if those boys were a part of it right now, and you know, and God has his way and everything, but I can't even imagine, because I mean, we had foster kids leave, and some of the foster kids we had leave, we were okay with them going. Right. And then there was the one little girl that we had that we thought we were going to be able to adopt, and she left, and it's heartbreaking. And that's like, I think, such a big fear that so many people have when they're going into fostering and adoption, is they don't know how to say goodbye to these kids. Like when you get so attached to them, and then they're just torn out of your life, right? And you don't know how they're doing.
In the beginning, we were really lucky because the parents that were chosen to adopt actually allowed us, you know, to take them once a month and to maintain a relationship, because that's important. You know, for anybody to maintain relationships.
They need that period of, the boys need that period of time to ease in, and I mean, that's a lot of change for them, and so to be able to still, you know, see you. Right,
and then that lasted for about 4 months, and then it was abruptly cut off.
Yeah.
And we don't know why.
Right.
And it's, you know, it's been how many years now, and I know nothing.
Yeah.
Jason is now 18 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Alex is 14.
Do you ever try to like look them up on social media?
I think the one thing as a foster parent that you don't ever get over, even with time, is the wondering, did I do enough? Did I do enough to make an impact that's positive and lifelong in this child's life?
Absolutely.
Because you don't have the answer.
You don't have that answer, but we were surrounded in prayer, you know, with our family being really supportive of fostering, and then our church being really supportive, and then our church has a foster ministry, and so we had our faith to lean on when we were fostering. And so Quinny, the German Shepherd, is making an appearance.
She kind of loves me.
She's cuddling Katie.
Hi.
And I know, like, for me and Brent, a lot of the kids that we had were younger. And so they're probably not going to even remember us or remember being in foster care, thank God. But I like to think that it still makes an impact. Like, just them having that stability and having someone to advocate for them during that time. And you know, like with the older kids, because we had a few older kids too, and which was really hard. But just, I like to think that we made a difference, and you made a difference, and every single foster parent makes a difference. And it's such a hard, selfless thing to do. It's really exciting. It's such a selfless thing to do, but every foster parent out there is just, and I'm not saying this like to toot my own horn or anything, but like, foster parents are freaking heroes.
They are, because you know, it really consumes your life.
So, okay, so you had the boys, they left and were adopted, and then it was you and Brandon and your ex.
Yep, and we ended up getting divorced.
And you're a strong, independent woman. Katie is single, fellas.
Oh, geez.
She is single. And ready to mingle.
I don't know about that,
but I'll be your wing woman.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and so now, gosh, it's been forever since we worked together at the sheriff's office, but you're still with the sheriff's office, and you're assigned as a detention dispatch and 911 call taker right now, right?
Yeah, so
how do you like that?
I've been up there for 4 years, and wow, it was...
I could not take 911 calls. I just... That's intense.
It is. It can be very intense.
And let's talk about this real quick.
Okay.
Just a few weeks ago, we had an officer killed.
Inside the jail.
Inside our jails, detention officer Lee. And he was murdered by an inmate. And it was awful. We're both gonna start crying now. And it's crazy because, like, I've been gone from the sheriff's office for 5 years now. I've been home with my kids. Well, almost 6 years that I've been gone from the sheriff's office. But
your family.
They're always, those people are always going to be family. You know, they're our brothers and our sisters. So whether it's officers that we worked with in the past and that we know and still keep in contact, or if it's brand new officers we've never met before, like they're still family. That's what a law enforcement family is. And so that news was really hard to hear, and especially like we've worked that housing unit where, you know, where he was killed, like that. I used to work in that housing unit, so, and that could have been any one of us at any time, you know. And so that I think really rattled our law enforcement community. But so the sheriff's office and his family had a wonderful, I mean, amazing memorial service or celebration of his life. So his service, I watched the live stream of it. Brent was there doing honor guard for it, but it was a beautiful ceremony.
It was. I mean, truly was.
From everyone who came up and spoke, and the videos and photos. I mean, everything just, it was a beautiful celebration.
Outpouring from the community.
Yes.
Even beyond Arizona. It was beautiful.
It was incredible. And so, and that's important. It's like in law enforcement community, it doesn't matter, you know, what agency it is, it's a ripple effect. It affects every other agency out there. And so his ceremony was really great. So I have to tell you this. So I couldn't be at the service or at the celebration of life because I had all of my kids home and I wasn't going to take them. So we went to Urban Air. And the kids were jumping around on the trampolines at Urban Air. And I was sitting off in the little table in the corner by the cafe. And there was probably like 2 other moms at little tables around me. And I had my earbuds in. And I was watching the service on my phone. And I was like keeping it together. And then I heard your voice when they did the last call. And you guys, that was Katie did the last call for Officer Lee. From her dispatch, and I didn't even know you were gonna, because we had been talking about the service beforehand, and I didn't know. Did you know that you were gonna do that? You did know, but you didn't tell anybody. Gosh dang it!
I had to, because
you had to mentally prepare for it.
I did, and it took a lot of days.
Yeah, because I had no idea that it was going. Because I expected you to be, I thought that you would probably be at the service.
Right.
I didn't expect you to be working dispatch that day, and so as soon as I heard your voice come over, I was like, I know that voice. Like, that's my friend. And I freaking lost it. I'm like bawling my eyes out in this little corner of the cafe. And these women are looking at me like, what the hell is wrong with her? Like, they didn't know if I was like ugly crying. And they didn't know if they should just like come over and see if I was okay or just like stay the hell away, you know? And then, you were so, because that's such a hard thing to do, and you were so strong throughout the whole thing, and you were so eloquent. And there was a part at the end,
I lost it,
where you didn't lose it. Your voice kind of cracked a little, like you could tell that the emotions were there, and it was just this little moment towards the end of your last call. And oh my gosh, I don't know how you made it through that whole thing. But you did such a kick-ass job, and I'm so proud of you, because we're actually gonna plug that clip in. It was somebody recorded it, and it was actually a deputy who had his radio in his patrol vehicle, and he video recorded. And so we're actually gonna kind of plug that into the YouTube video.
And then, but I do want to say it is a trigger, so trigger warning.
Trigger warning for any,
for PTSD and just different issues. It is a trigger.
Bravo 2818.
Constable 35.
Bravo 2818, Officer Lee. All units, stand by for the final call for Detention Officer Lee. This is the final call for Bravo 2818, Detention Officer Jim Lee. Officer Lee, you gave your life on October 30th, 2019, protecting the citizens of Maricopa County as you served the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office with honor, dignity, and integrity. The men and women you served with will forever remember and honor you and your sacrifice. All units, please stand by for a moment of silence for Officer Lee. Officer Lee, May you rest in peace, knowing your legacy will be carried on through your wife and your children, and all the men and women of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Officer Lee, you are now 10-7. This is the end of your watch. 18. You are now 10-7 at 14:43 hours.
I was working the day that Officer Lee was murdered. This particular day, I'm on the radio, so I'm listening to LBJ, and when you have something like this, it's radio silent.
Right.
Unless it's pertaining to that emergency.
Right.
So we made all of the notifications. I notified my supervisors. They notified everybody that they needed to notify. And then we just wait.
Right.
And we wait.
And it was it was a few days before we got the news that he didn't make it. He had passed.
Make it, right.
Yeah.
He was an organ donor.
Yeah, I know.
He was an organ donor.
Can you imagine how many lives are impacted by him now?
Right. I know that there was 5+ lives that
That's
he
incredible.
saved. Yeah.
I mean, it's horrible, but it's incredible at
Right.
the same time. And I'm so grateful that his family and him made that choice.
And I was in contact with our crisis team, the SISM team, as I was a prior member of that team.
So was I.
Yes, you were.
We have so much in common.
And so I spoke with the deputy that was working with the family, and I was asked to do the last call, which I can say out of 17 years is the biggest honor of my career. An honor I don't ever want to have again.
Right.
And I wish I would have never had it.
Right.
But without hesitation, I said yes. And it's fitting because I am their dispatcher.
Right. And you're their dispatcher, and you're a detention officer, and he was a detention officer. So for anyone unfamiliar, in the sheriff's office, we have our deputies who are our sworn law enforcement officers, and then we have our detention officers who are not sworn, but we take care of the jails. We supervise all the thousands and thousands of inmates
8,000 inmates we have right now, and
so
7 different facilities.
We're one big family, just 2 different entities of it.
Right,
So.
and then you bring in the dispatch portion, which dispatchers are civilians.
Yes.
So I think right now there's 6 just detention officers in dispatch.
Oh, that's awesome.
And all the rest are civilians. And so it's a huge family. It's in such an extended family. And so I'm sitting there in the anxiety, and I'm just waiting for, my cue, because I'm sitting at the dispatch center.
Were your hands just like
I was shaking. I was nervous. I had support sitting next to me, and I wrote out the last call, and I had to have it approved, and I had it sitting in front of me, and at the end,
It's okay.
at the end there's a blank,
Yeah.
and that's the time that I make him 10-7, his last out of service. And I kept looking at that.
Right.
And I hate being emotional like this.
No, this is real life.
It is, and it was.
And I think it's important that we're talking about this because, for our sheriff's office family, actually a lot of our Brave Babe tribe a lot of our tribe is composed of our sheriff's office family, and so I know that a lot of them are suffering right now too, and this shocked everybody, and so I think it's good that we're.
It is. I think so
and you
too.
get to share your, your view on it.
It's completely different.
Because I imagine when you're sitting there and you have his last call right there, and you see that space, that moment of silence on, and it's a void.
It is.
It's a void, and that is a human life that is now gone.
Right, and I had met him in passing. I didn't know him. I didn't know his story. I didn't know his family. But in the process of, learning about him, you realize what an incredible man he really truly was.
Absolutely.
And, I was watching the live stream of the services, and I had the Ron, who was the person at the services, telling me, okay, go. He was working with the audio guys. And I had all of my channels all hooked, we call it patched. We had them all patched together so we could broadcast it over every radio channel.
Right, so every detention officer that couldn't make it to the service because we still had to run operations.
Yeah.
So every officer that was still doing their job, every deputy that's in their patrol vehicle or out on a call, everybody got to hear it at the same moment.
Yep, and it was so, like all the noise around me just went away. And I hit that hot tone. And I knew I had been preparing. I hadn't let myself feel the emotion yet.
Right.
Because I had to be able to say that.
Right.
And so mentally, I'm like, I have to be strong.
Hit the off switch mentally.
I had to separate, and kind of like I do with 911 calls, I have to separate my own feelings from getting the job done. That is my job, and I have to do it. And so you hit that hot tone. And in law enforcement, when you hear a hot tone, you know it's an emergency. And you, wherever you are, if you are in the public, if you are at work, if you are not at work, and you hear that tone, everything stops.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you're off duty, on duty, you stop because somebody needs help. And I hot tone, and I call for him, and he doesn't call back.
Yeah. It's such a big hug. That I don't know how you.
And I call for him again, and he doesn't call back.
Yeah.
And then I go through my observation of him, and you know, we have a moment of silence, and I kind of regroup myself, and then I have to say he's 10-7, out of service, and I have to time it. 14:43. I will never, ever, ever forget 14:43.
Right.
You know, and I am so thankful and I'm so blessed that I was able to do that. And
you did it so well. I'm so grateful that there's been so much support for his family.
Yeah, because he, from what I understand, and again, I don't know a lot about his family, but he was the only member of law enforcement in the family.
Right.
So they didn't know the true family. They didn't know how extended it really
that when you're
is.
a part of a law enforcement family, and like we talked about a little bit ago, is that people don't view detention officers as true like law enforcement, you know, because we're not out on the streets. You don't see us. We're behind.
Right.
We're locked in the jail.
Right. For 8 hours a day.
And people don't understand, and I don't blame people for it, but they don't understand the magnitude of just how much we do. And it's not just making sure that people stay locked up, that the bad guys stay locked up. I mean, we're feeding these people. We're giving them clothes. We're making sure that all of their human needs are met. We're getting their medical care. We're taking them to services, appointments, to church. Like, we do. I mean, we take care of them. Like, I hate to kind of compare, but like, it's like taking care of a child almost, you know? And like, so it, and
not only that, the daily stuff, but you're there to listen. You know,
you have to pay attention, because if you have an inmate we are trained to have to recognize signs of suicide and all this, and we respond to suicides. We have assaults, we have sexual assaults, we have things that we are tasked with preventing, but you can't always, just like in the real world, you can't always prevent that, but we are responding to
overdoses
that. And I don't think people understand the magnitude of the job, of just how much detention officers have to do. And you know, sometimes you're dealing with inmates who aren't, you know, they're just the average person who messed up and now they're paying for it. And you know what, and it happens. But then you also have the people who are child molesters, who are murderers, that are the scum of society. So you're dealing with anyone from a decent human to the worst. And
you have to be professional.
And you have to remain professional. But I think what really pissed me off, I was just devastated by the news of what happened to Officer Lee, but knowing that it was a sex offender who was incarcerated for committing sex crimes against children. And this is the scum of this earth that did this to an officer who was just a good man who was just doing his job.
Because he didn't need to work.
No,
he wanted to serve the community.
Yes. And that is what I think for me personally, being, you know, a childhood sex abuse survivor, like something I want to talk about real quick is that, you know, we go through our life and we just live our life and we try to do the best we can, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't think people realize how much of an impact we actually have on others around us, because you might not know any of the ways that so-and-so views you or so-and-so sees you or what you did for that. You smiled at somebody and that just made their day. Right. Like, you have no idea how you have impacted the people around you. Right. I have no idea how I impact, and we might try to have positive impacts on people, but we never really know the true magnitude of the impact that we have. And I think it's sad that we won't ever know that, but it's also a beautiful thing. Like Officer Lee, I bet you he had no clue how he impacted these people around him. But then as soon as he was gone, it's, you know, then it's like, if only he knew that when he was still alive. Can you imagine how much that would change anybody's life? Like, knowing how you impact others. You know, let's just plug this in too real quick, is that, you know, for our LEO family listening right now or watching right now, is that Katie and I were both, when I was with the sheriff's office, and we were both with the Critical Incident Stress Management team, which is the CISM team, and the sheriff's office has that, and they are amazing people. Yes. And it's peer support, and it's 100% confidential. So anytime you're going through anything in your life, and stress affects everybody differently, and everybody deals with it, and you might be okay today, but months from now, something could trigger something, and anything, and you might be struggling. And so if there's any time that you're struggling with anything, you need to reach out to that CISM team, because they are there as your peers to support you, and they have so many resources to offer you, to get you the help you need. And it's not something that's going to affect your position. It's not going to get back to your supervisors or your coworkers. It's 100% confidential. Even a judge has no right to know what you guys talked about with the CISM.
Right. And I'll even take it one step further. A lot of people are very concerned about, well, if I talk to a CISM team member, then, you know, IA is going to get involved. Well, IA is not allowed to talk to us either.
Right. Internal affairs.
Yes, or PSB, what it's called now. And we are protected by Arizona State Statute 3511, which is the same statute that doctors and lawyers are protected by.
It's all protected, and it's confidential, and they're there to help, and it's amazing, and they're such genuine people that care about our law enforcement family and want people. And it doesn't matter if it's job related or personal related. In your personal life, they're there for you. So
we can even extend it out to family.
Yeah. So at any time, you guys reach out to them if you need them. I know for our LEO family, that's really important. So, okay, so I know we talked about that a long time, but you were so brave, and I'm so proud of you. And so now, since we're on the topic of law enforcement, you are going to tell me what this charity calendar is. So, the calendar.
Yes. So Ed Cunningham, who is the founder owner of First Responder Decon, is going to be doing a calendar to benefit firefighters, law enforcement who suffer job-related cancer, which is absolutely amazing that he,
it's incredible.
Yeah. So I want to plug First Responder Decon, because right now they currently have a line for firefighters that.
And you were saying it's a chemical?
Yes, so it's a chemical that has been developed that he has marketed for firefighters and law enforcement. So what this chemical does is you spray it on your turnout gear. It encapsulates the carcinogens and it neutralizes them.
Wow.
And then they can wash and fully decontaminate and disinfect.
That's awesome.
Their turnout gear. But this doesn't just help firefighters, but it can be brought into the law enforcement side as well, decontaminating the backup patrol vehicles,
Right.
Our canine vehicles,
Right.
decontaminating with them inside the jails. This product will neutralize biologics, urine, feces, and all the diseases that come along with it. Chickenpox, influenza.
Wow.
It can even neutralize.
So it's not just protecting
fentanyl.
you from carcinogens, it's protecting you from everything.
Everything, yeah.
That's incredible.
It can even be added into your laundry detergent, even in your home, and it kills everything in your laundry that just regular soap doesn't kill. So it can greatly reduce influenza, chickenpox outbreaks, stuff like that.
Right.
And it cleans the inside of your washing machine.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right? And with kids and animals and stuff, our
Yeah.
washing machines get pretty nasty.
Yeah. They get that funk.
They do. They get that
But
weird.
to protect our fire and LEO, like that's incredible.
It is. So I'm gonna preach to the world about this company and this product because
We'll drop a link to his website, his Facebook or
page.
website. Yeah. So that way you guys can go and check it out too.
Yep. And spread the word. We need to protect everybody out there. We need to reduce, work-related illness, whether it's the common cold, the flu, or cancer.
We'll have to get Ed to come on the podcast.
We will. We
talk about this more in depth, so that way we can help him spread the word.
He's an amazing man who has an incredible, uplifting story, and he also is the owner of a Firehouse Subs and Surprise off Bell Road. So he's amazing, and he has created this calendar. He teamed up with the Combat Dolls, which we'll plug them as well. And they are a 501c3 pinup charity group where they are absolutely beautiful women, and they dress the part, and they do charity events. They just did a parade, Veterans Day parade.
That would be so fun.
It was and they are such positive. They're regular people. They're moms, their daughters. They're amazing people that have gone through all these different stories, and their military wives and stuff like that. So it's really cool. And
what's their name again?
They are the Combat Dolls.
Combat Dolls.
Yes.
How
and
awesome.
So we are going to be doing an 18-month calendar, and the proceeds are going to be going to various charities. And
their charity support law enforcement and also help people who are battling cancer.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And
I'm on his Facebook right now, and it says that they're going to fund charities to help support those currently fighting the battle with firefighter health related issues. So that's awesome.
And it's really cool because I saw it on his Facebook, and he asked me to be a part of it, and I'm like, yes, that's awesome. So I'm gonna get all dolled up. I don't know if I can pull that look off.
Yeah, you
can.
That's exciting.
It's gonna be really cool. And then in February, at the end of February, they're gonna be doing a pinup fashion show. So I've signed up for that too.
Oh, how
So
fun.
I don't think I'd mentioned that part to you.
No, I didn't know anything about a fashion show.
So maybe we should get you in that as well. Jalena has agreed to do the calendar. So she is gonna be in there as well. We are going to just have a ball with it, really, because it's going to be...
That would be such a fun, photo shoot to do, and then, and just knowing, it's all for charity, and that's incredible.
Yeah, and it's going to feature first responders, military. It's going to be first responders who are also cancer survivors. So I'm a cancer survivor. Another good friend of mine, Susie Monroe, she's a former deputy. She's former Army. And she is a 2 or 3 time cancer survivor, I believe. And she's also going to be a part of it. So Susie, I'm going to plug you as well. And it's just highlighting, this affects so many different people. And
all
really
different walks of life.
Really the awareness needs to be out there, not just, the female breast cancer part of it, different, I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, you had skin cancer, it was so many different, but the fact that cancer can be prevented in these firefighters, it needs to be out there.
Right.
That we shouldn't have to be having this conversation.
Right. It shouldn't take firefighters to have cancer or die from cancer before people are talking about this or doing anything about it to prevent it.
To prevent it. And that's the thing. I did have a meeting last week with Ed, and I learned a lot about the fire side because I'm law enforcement. I don't know the fire side, and vice versa. You know, he's fire, he doesn't know the law enforcement side. So when I'm telling him about the benefits that the product would have inside our facilities for our patrol, you know, different areas, even for our canines, I mean, to help, you know, make sure our canines are safe, to wash off their vests and stuff. You know, he told me that carcinogens off of turnout gear can actually emit the toxins for up to 72 hours after
That's crazy.
those guys get back. So, you know, they're going from one fire, they're bringing those carcinogens back to the firehouse in the truck, in, you know, in their turnout room, and it's just emitting all of those carcinogens for 3 more days.
That's crazy.
You know, and when you have a product like Decon where it literally, you spray it on, you neutralize it, and you wash it off. And makes it a more safe environment for these men and women.
That's
so
incredible.
to prevent,
Right.
you know, those carcinogens.
That's incredible, and it's incredible that we have people out there who use their experience and their knowledge, and they you know, make something so amazing come out of that.
Right.
You know? And yeah, so their website is firstresponderdecon.com, DECON. So firstresponderdecon.com.
And,
so
and right now you can look at all the different products. There's a whole tutorial on how he started and how this will benefit the firefighters. And he's opening up the law enforcement side as well. So I'm going to get as much information as I can from my agency, from other agencies. I've reached out, you know, how could this benefit our inmates? How can this benefit our facilities? How can this benefit I don't want to bring money into it, but the amount of money we spend on medical.
by preventing all of this.
Right. I mean, and it's
prevention and treatment, people.
Right.
It's no longer just about going home at the end of each shift, but about living long and healthy into retirement. That's a quote by Ed Cunningham. So yeah, that's awesome. So I hope everybody listening or watching will go and check this out. And there's also a video from Ed on their website, and he says, we know that up to 90% of our toxic exposures from fire scenes come from our gear itself and can continue to be a health hazard for days following an incident. To truly make a difference, a full and true decontamination needs to be accomplished before a firefighter come off of air. Yeah, that's incredible. So that charity calendar, do you know when it's going to be available for sale?
It is available for pre-order now.
Now, where do people pre-order?
Go on the Facebook.
2020-2021 charity calendar. They have a Facebook page, and you can go and pre-order there. So that's exciting. So Katie's gonna be in this calendar. Apparently I'm gonna be in this calendar. You know what? I've always wanted to do like a pinup photo shoot.
Me too.
I don't know what it I don't know any of the details about this, or like what
you just know you're gonna be participating.
What kind of photos, but like to have my hair done like that style, you know, hair makeup done in just that pinup style.
Right, and I kind of I think I'm more like, I think you two we're more of like the dark part of the pinup, not the flowery. I think.
What do you mean the dark part?
Like the rockabilly, the
I don't know. The tattoos.
Exactly, because we got the tattoos.
Wear bandana.
And our hair up all, you know.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
It's gonna be so much fun with the bright red lips. Yeah, and I'll hook you up with your lashes. And
oh yeah, Katie does lashes.
Yeah. So we're gonna be looking good.
That's gonna be so exciting.
I'm thinking I want to
heels.
The heels. I want to do like maybe a little bit of a sexier version, kind of show it off a little bit, and then maybe a not so sexy version. I don't know. Whatever they want me to do, I'm going to do. I have full faith.
And we
in
have
the
combat dolls are the ones who are going to be doing the looks and the styling and they're going to be
participating in the calendar with us.
That's so exciting. I'm going to have to look them up too.
They are amazing. The women on that group are so beautiful.
How awesome.
Yeah. So I'm so excited.
Well, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So we will have to do another podcast episode soon and update everybody on the calendar. Maybe we can even sneak some video footage of like the photo shoot and throw it up on our YouTube.
I think we're doing the photo shoot in January.
Okay.
So after the holidays and
yeah, maybe we'll have to sneak some footage and throw it up on our YouTube channel.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to do like a podcast and experiment a little bit on our own with the looks.
Yeah. Oh, that would be fun. We'll have like a girls' day and try out some new looks and stuff. Okay, so you guys, Katie and I talked about when we had to pause the recordings many times because the kids kept coming in and out. We decided that it's way more fun for me to do podcast episodes with somebody and have conversation rather than just try to, do the whole thing by myself. And so we're definitely going to be doing more episodes together. Yes. We're going to have some more guest speakers come on and talk to you guys.
But we're going to play some games.
So we're going to play some games. And so the game that we came up with is that the next time we do a podcast episode together in my little mommy corner, which I'll show you in a minute. And if you're just listening on the podcast, you got to go to YouTube to see our mommy corner.
Yes.
But we are going to line this desk right here with shot glasses full of some good stuff, and every time the kids come and interrupt us and we have to stop recording, or the dog, or they're going in and out, or they're just yelling in the other room and we have to tell them, be quiet, we're almost done, just 5 more minutes. Every time the kids interrupt, we're gonna take a shot. Yep, we're just gonna take a shot. And
by the way, I will be staying the night.
Oh, it's going to be a sleepover, a shot sleepover. Yeah. We're going to do our shots with our podcast recording, and then she's going to stay the night so she doesn't have to drive home because we are safe like that. Yes. And our kids get along so wonderfully. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
That's going to be fun.
I think we might end up a little tipsy though.
I think we
prime example.
Yep.
Did you guys just shot that door slam? That would have been a shot.
Yeah. That was perfect.
That we couldn't have done that better. Right. I don't know if you guys, I hope you guys actually heard that. Actually, I hope they didn't, because all the background noise that's been going on through this episode is going to be a nightmare to try to edit later, but
yeah,
I'm badass. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, you are badass.
So maybe
we should plan that like over Christmas break.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. With all the kids home.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about a lot of things today. We talked about how we met. We talked about your cancer story, about your foster journey. We talked about your experience as a detention dispatch 911 call taker and your last call for Officer Lee. And then we also talked about this charity pinup calendar.
I'm so excited.
So dang, this is my longest podcast episode ever. I don't normally go over like 20 minutes. And this was a huge treat for me. I hope it was a huge treat for everybody listening and watching. So leave us, if you're on the podcast, leave us a review. If you're on YouTube, leave us a like and some comments, and let us know what you guys want to hear us talk about in the future. Katie and I were talking earlier about how it's great to sit down and have these conversations because we talked about a lot of stuff we didn't really plan on, like diving deep into, and I think there's a lot more that we could talk about, and we have a lot of similar opinions and stuff, but we also have a lot of different opinions on things and different views, and so it'd be good to sit here and just kind of chat about things. And so let us know what you guys want us to chat about in the future, and we will do that. And so
I think one good thing to touch on our next one when we're doing the shots too, before we get too tipsy.
We're just drinking orange juice in our red Solo cups. Look at it. We have matching red Solo cups right here, and I promise you it's just orange juice because we forgot the champagne.
Yep. So I think in the next one, maybe we can touch on a little bit of health, just overall women's health. Yeah. And because we dove into the cancer stuff, but you and I actually have a lot more health related things, thyroid issues, the lupus, what we've done over the past few years to make ourselves
journeys to help make ourselves be healthier for not just for us but for our kids and to take care of our families
and for our future.
I think that's a good topic. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, that's it for today. So all right, till next time. Bye. All right, babes, as promised, here is the mommy corner. We have got the coffee bar right there with coffee. And then because wine is better with friends, it's right down there. So that way when we record our podcast episodes, we have coffee and we have wine. And this is what I call my mommy corner because I've got my my laptop here and my desk, and this is where I sit and I do all of the recording for podcast and the editing and the YouTube videos and whatnot. And I just don't have a part of the house where, you know, I can have any privacy. So this is my little mommy corner, and the kids know that when I am in my corner, I am doing work, and they are not too, I mean, they still bother me. Who am I kidding? But it's just a little space to myself. So this is where we record our podcast, the mommy corner, because coffee and wine.